Well, after 5 weeks in Germany, 12 matches, 57 cancelled or delayed trains, and another final heartbreak with England, I am finally back in the United Kingdom. It feels like the Euros came and went within the blink of an eye. Georgi Loria, we hardly knew ya. As many of you will know, I'm not a huge fan of prediction videos. I think they are largely pointless and stupid, which is why I only do them once every 2 years for the Euros and the World Cup, but every time that I do, my guilty pleasure is to make a second video, taking a look back and reacting to my initial predictions. That's partly because it helps to illustrate why I think they're pointless and stupid, partly because it's a good opportunity just to look back and reflect upon the tournament as a whole, and partly, of course, so that you can all laugh at what a ludicrous idiot I truly am. My Euro 2024 predictions consisted of 7 supposedly bold predictions, what with this being HITC Sevens and all, followed by my full group and knockout stage predictions. So how many did I get right? Well, let's take a look. But before that, I would just like to add that I made this rather important qualifier in the introduction to my predictions video. I should point out that my only definitive prediction is that all of my predictions will be wrong, and therefore, the only way that I will actually make a fool of myself is if everything that I predict actually happens. So, in reality, the better these predictions have aged, the poorer that reflects upon me. Throughout this video, by the way, just so that there's no confusion, I'll use that filter if I'm playing a clip from the original video. I will rate each of my predictions out of 10, based upon how I think they've aged, and you can tell me in the comments whether I am being too generous or too harsh upon myself. Without further ado then, who, quite remarkably, is no longer the youngest MLS player of all time, here were my full Euro 2024 predictions versus what actually happened. 7th, Belgium revival. Alright, it's not a brilliant start, but it could be worse. You know, I could have predicted Romelu Lukaku to win the Golden Boot, or something really stupid like that. Belgium started horribly at Euro 2024, losing 1-0 against a decent Slovakia team in a game that they were nonetheless expected to win, leading to a flood of people commenting on my prediction video and calling me an idiot, which, I mean, fair enough. But I didn't hear much from them when the Red Devils bounced back to beat Romania 2-0. Yeah, come on you cowards, where were you then?
Where are you? Where are you? Let's be having you!
That win was followed by a 0-0 draw against Ukraine, which saw Belgium progress to the knockout stage, from a group in which all 4 teams ended up being tied on 4 points. In the round of 16, Belgium got a tough draw against France, a closely fought game which Belgium lost due to an 85th minute Jan Vertonghen own goal. I said I thought Belgium would win their group and make the quarterfinals. Wrong. But I also thought that they would improve upon their dismal 2022 World Cup showing before losing against the first genuinely top-class opposition they faced, most likely France. Which was right. Going out in the round of 16 can only constitute a mini revival at best though, regardless of the quality of the opposition, and I also thought that one of Doku or Trossard would have a barnstorming tournament, neither of which happened. Overall, I'd call it a 4 out of 10. 6th, Serbia collapse. Serbia were a lot of people's dark horses heading into Euro 2024, with many touting them as being England's biggest threat in Group C. As I said at the time, I could understand the argument. Serbia have some big players, both figuratively and literally, like Vlahovic, Mitrovic and Milinkovic-Savic, who also carry a goal threat, but I wasn't convinced. Serbia are flattered to deceive in the past, they were deeply unimpressive in qualifying, and 2 of their 3 star players that I just mentioned now play their club football in Saudi Arabia. I predicted that Serbia would be relatively bad and finish bottom of their group, both of which happened, so I am claiming this as a rare W. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. 5th, Hungary to be the dark horses. Alright, I know what you're probably thinking. Just for some additional context, I would like to include this clip as well. The tricky thing about Hungary's prospects is that they have been drawn in Group A, the most competitive group at the Euros, which Germany will be expected to win, but then there is little to split Switzerland, Scotland and themselves. I knew that this was a dangerous prediction because much as Hungary have been transformed under Marco Rossi and claimed several major scalps during that time, they were drawn a rough hand in a highly competitive Group A. Ultimately, it was Hungary's opening game against Switzerland that really killed them. It was always likely to be one of those two that finished as Group A runners-up, and to be honest, Hungary didn't really turn up. At least not when compared to their performances that they've served up over the last few years. It should be said that Switzerland are a really solid team who almost always make at least the round of 16, and they were even more impressive at this tournament, comfortably beating Italy in the round of 16 before taking England all the way to penalties in the quarterfinals, so there is, or was, no great shame in losing 2-1 against them. Nonetheless, Hungary are capable of playing much better than they did against a strong Swiss team, as they proved in their second game against Germany, where I thought they lived up to my expectations. Unfortunately, for them, Germany was still too good for them, as they would have been for all but one or two teams at this tournament, only losing in extra time against eventual winners Spain in arguably the game of the tournament, which left Hungary with 0 points to their name heading into their final game against Scotland. Hungary won that game, though not particularly convincingly, courtesy of a 100th minute winner, that is, the 10th minute of injury time, but it wasn't enough to secure them a spot in the knockouts, as they ranked 5th out of the 6 third-place teams, missing out on reaching the knockouts by virtue of goal difference. Overall, I don't think that Hungary were terrible at Euro 2024, but nor were they outstanding, and much as I always felt that it was possible, and there wasn't a great deal in it, if your dark horses don't make it out of the group stage, that's a bad call. 2 out of 10. Fourth, Bruno Fernandes to win Player of the Tournament. I keep thinking, looking back at these predictions, that didn't happen, but I can see the logic there, but then of course I can see the logic there. These were literally my predictions. In the case of Bruno Fernandes, the theory was that he was outstanding for Portugal in Euro 2024 qualifying, is obviously a very good footballer, and it felt as though, following the last World Cup in Qatar, this might be the tournament where Cristiano Ronaldo sort of stepped, or at least leaned to one side, still playing of course, we all expected that, but in terms of taking on the mantle of being Portugal's main man, and allowed some of their many other talented and younger players to fill that void. We did see glimpses of that, most notably when Ronaldo passed the ball to Fernandes for a tap-in against Turkey, which was clearly the right decision, but at previous tournaments, you would have expected Ronaldo to go for goal himself. But we didn't see it nearly enough. Most notably, Ronaldo still took all of Portugal's free kicks and penalties, including a saved penalty against Slovakia in the round of 16 when, statistically, Fernandes is one of a few Portuguese players who would be more likely to have found the back of the net from free kicks at least. Fernandes didn't play poorly at the Euros, both statistically and just from the eye test. He was one of Portugal's best players, but the Portuguese failed to set the world alight, beating Slovenia in the round of 16 but losing to France in the quarterfinals, both via penalty shootouts, having failed to score a single goal in roughly 200 minutes of knockout football. For that reason, Fernandes didn't come remotely close to winning the Player of the Tournament award, which went, a little strangely, I felt, to Rodri. Make no mistake, Rodri is one of the best players in the world, but I don't think that he was the best player at this Euros. In fact, I don't even think that he was the best player in Spain's double pivot. I would give that crown to Fabian Ruiz, who was outstanding, and Spain actually improved, significantly, in the second half of the final against England, when Rodri was replaced by Martin Zubamendi. To be clear, I'm not saying that Rodri didn't have a good tournament or Spain would have lost the Euros if Rodri had stayed on, or anything of the kind. I just think that there were a handful of players, specifically at this Euros, who were better than him. With that being said, Bruno Fernandes probably wasn't one of them. 2 out of 10. Third, Croatia to overachieve. Again, this is a slightly tougher one to rate. I said Croatia's best days were behind them heading into this Euros, with their star players either aging or having departed the international scene in recent years, but that they were still underrated heading into Euro 2024, and that I fancied them to finish above Italy as Group B runners-up, which wasn't a particularly popular opinion. I was seconds away from vindication as Croatia led Italy 1-0 in the final group game until Matteo Zaccagni equalised in the 98th minute. In doing so, he sent Italy through to the round of 16 and Croatia on the first flight out of Berlin back to Zagreb in the process. I suspect that Croatia would have given Switzerland a much tougher round of 16 tie than Italy did. I mean, they could hardly have been much worse, but nearly finishing above Italy in the group but for an injury time equaliser, and theoretically performing better than them in the round of 16 if they had, doesn't really count for much. They went out in the group stage, regardless of context. It's a 3 out of 10. Second, Lukaku to win the Golden Boot. Oh, for crying out loud. He actually did it, didn't he? Alright. You can all stop laughing now.
That's terrible! 20-odd caps for England. That's disgraceful behaviour.
Ironically, Lukaku did actually score 3 goals at Euro 2024, despite Belgium's early exit in the round of 16, which would have made him joint top scorer at this tournament, but all 3 were subsequently disallowed by VAR. Honestly, I'm starting to think that there was a UEFA conspiracy just to undermine my predictions and to make me look like a total idiot. I mean, did they really need 8 minutes of injury time in the Italy versus Croatia game? I still don't think that this was the worst shout. Lukaku had the 11th highest non-penalty XG of any player at the Euros, despite only playing 4 games, and with a bit of luck from the footballing gods, and maybe Belgium playing 1 extra game, he could well have won it. Nonetheless, the reality is that he scored 0 goals, so it's a 1 out of 10. It's aged about as well as John Cleese. First, the Netherlands and Italy to exit early. Well, I think that it would be safe to say that this one was a bit of a mixed bag. I said that Italy weren't very good, despite being the holders, that they lacked goals, and that I wasn't convinced that either Giacomo Raspadori or Gianluca Scamacca could turn on the style. Italy scored 3 goals in 4 games, those 2 scored 0 in 4, and Italy were somewhat fortuitous to escape the group stage, as we've already established, before being comfortably knocked out by Switzerland in the round of 16. In isolation then, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. The Netherlands, meanwhile, lost against Austria and only finished 3rd in their group, as I predicted, but went on to overcome both Romania and Turkey, a generous draw perhaps, but you can only beat what's in front of you, en route to the semi-finals. I don't think that the Dutch were fantastic by any means, but there are no circumstances in which reaching the semis can constitute an early exit. It's a 2 out of 10. Or, if you combine the 2, a 5 out of 10 overall. Those were my 7 headline or bold predictions. As for the tournament as a whole, well, I got Hungary and Switzerland the wrong way round in Group A, which was always a close call, but Germany and Scotland right. I was seconds away from having Group B spot on, but ultimately Italy and Croatia swapped places, owing to that 98th minute equaliser. Group C was spot on. Group D, just France and Austria were the wrong way round. The Netherlands and Poland were right. Group E was completely wrong. By far my worst prediction group-wise, although it should be said there was very little in it, with all 4 teams tied on 4 points. And finally, in Group F, I was delighted to be proven wrong, with Portugal winning the group as expected, but Turkey finishing as runners-up, and most notably, Georgia progressing in 3rd. In the knockouts, by which stage any previous mistakes mean it is largely meaningless, I was right about Germany and Spain meeting in the quarterfinals, probably the 2 or 3 best teams at the Euros, although I was wrong about who would win that game. I called England and France making the semis, but so did most people. It's not particularly bold, is it? Along with Italy going out in the round of 16 and Portugal in the quarters. I didn't call Spain winning the tournament, the Netherlands making the semis, or England reaching the final. Overall, for my full predictions, I would probably give myself a 4 out of 10, although, given that I predicted that all of my predictions would be wrong, I suppose that inverts to a 6 out of 10, which, isn't too bad. UEFA agrees, by the way. They gave me a score of 23 out of 57 on the prediction app that I used, which is almost exactly 40%, which, to my amazement, apparently puts me in the top 12% of players overall. There must be some real idiots out there. Still, they probably didn't back Lukaku to win the Golden Boot. That is it for today's video, a shorter one than usual, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video. As I say, I hope that was the case. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What were your predictions? Were they any better? You can lie about them now, I suppose, can't you? Just say that you got everything. You got 57 out of 57. And of course, it goes without saying, make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on, not just for this channel, HITC Sevens, but also my second channel, Alfie Potts Armour, both of which should be about to appear on your screens now, along with a couple of videos that you might enjoy watching after this one. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads via the username @HITC Sevens on all three, and all of those links plus a whole lot more should be down in the video description below. Cheers!